Hey YouTube, the Ancestry.com trap. Why your family history goes deeper. The belief that Ancestry.com is enough. The fact is, it isn't, especially for those who have enslaved ancestors. Why? Because only a small portion of historical documents are actually on Ancestry.com, specifically for those who were enslaved. Um, I would suggest definitely using Ancestry.com, but that cannot be, or it should not be, your one stop shop for all of your historical or family data needs, because there's just not enough information specifically for those people of color or those who have enslaved ancestors to be able to get enough information about your holistic family history. I would suggest using one website that I have always used, and I've been doing genealogy research for over 30 years. One of the websites that I would recommend is US GenWeb. I really like US GenWeb because it's free. And as of today, it's free that I know of. It's free. And it literally has every state in the union. And then it breaks down the states by specific counties, or I think if you're in Louisiana, maybe parishes. And so then you can go to that particular state and look up that county or city, and then click on that county, and there's specific individuals that handle that county's documents. Now, you may not find a lot of information for those who are enslaved, but you may find some. And one of the great things about it is you're able to look at those specific county lines. So, for instance, if your ancestor lived in, let's just say, I'm just throwing out a county, Van Zant County, Texas. Well, you could go to the next county over and see if there's some historical records for your ancestor in the next county over. If you have never done that before, you definitely want to try that, because remember, we are in 2024, but 100 years ago, some of those counties could have been smaller, or they could have been larger, or they may not even existed at all. So it's very important that you try to use US GenWeb, I suggest, to look at how the counties may have been formed. And it may not be 100% perfect, but it's a lot easier to figure out something using their county maps on US GenWeb. But then also you might want to get older maps and see if your ancestors' information may have been across the other line of specific counties, because their information may just very well be in Navarro County or another county that you never even thought or even understood that they may have existed or lived in that county, but they did. One other place where you want to look is use local resources. Specific counties, not all, but specific counties have historical societies. And in this day and age, there used to be a time where you would have to email them or send them. There was even a time when you would have to even send them letters. Now you can go on the web, search for specific, let's say, Fayette County, and then you can look for Fayette County, Georgia, and then you can look for their historical society. And it may not be manned, the historical society may not be manned every day, but they may have an email box, they may have a phone number, and a lot of times all they want is a small donation. If you come in, or you can call and they can look up that information. A lot of these historical societies have wills, they have birth records, they have baptismal records, they have books that local individuals have wrote about their families, and specifically for those who are enslaved. Now, we do know that a lot of enslaved people may not have books that were written about them, but they may be listed in wills. They may be listed as owned by somebody. You may be able to find that they lived with someone, or they live next door to relatives. There's all this information that you can find by contacting these historical societies. You may even be able to find photos. You may even be able to find a notation about your ancestor. You may be able to find pension documents. You may be able to find all kinds of documents that you never thought existed by visiting a historical society. And if you cannot, or you don't have the time, or historical society does not exist, you can hire local researchers. By going to US Gen Web, and they have, you can click on the links, and I believe even Ancestry or familysearch.com has options for you to hire researchers in those local areas that will be able to help you find information about your ancestors, or where they may have lived, or what city they may have lived in, or if there's burial records, or if there are graves somewhere. And I think those are some of the places where you definitely need to try to go, because ancestry.com can be a trap. It's amazing. You know, all of these leaves are amazing, but family history goes so much deeper than that, and especially for those people of color, because our records normally only go to 1870. But when you expand your horizons and you think outside of the box, you may be able to find something that you never even knew existence. For example, I was looking for some relatives that had moved from Kentucky, and they migrated to Oklahoma, and then they left Kentucky, they migrated to Kansas, then they migrated down to Oklahoma. But they lived in Kansas for 10 or 15 years. I was not aware of that. I knew that they had stopped through, but one of my ancestors, a great grandfather, was a pastor at a Baptist church. And I was just going through records, and somehow, some way, I was looking for information in that town, and somebody had written a book, and his name was listed in the book as being one of the first pastors of this specific Baptist church. So I researched, and I contacted the Historical Society to see if they happened to have any photos. They did not have any photos, but they did have records of him being the pastor for the first 10 years. It was a newspaper clipping, and then somebody had written a book about the Black community in that town of Kansas. And so it was amazing to me, because I had no idea that they had even lived in Kansas that long, and that they had roots there before they moved to Oklahoma. So make sure that you check your historical societies, you check US Gen Web, and you think outside of the box. Those are my tips, because ancestry.com can be a trap, but your family history can go so much deeper. Want more tips and tricks on how to trace your family history? Check out my ebook below. Don't forget to like my channel and subscribe.